Hi, I'm Zara. For 35 years, I've prided myself on being the kind of mother who gives without expecting anything in return. I raised my only son, Ethan, to be respectful and kind. When he married Melissa 3 years ago, I welcomed her with open arms, even when my instincts whispered caution. Mom, we're here, Ethan called, stepping into my house for our monthly family dinner. In the kitchen, honey. I stirred the sauce one last time. Just finishing up your favorite lasagna. Melissa appeared in the doorway, designer purse dangling from her wrist. Smells interesting? Old family recipe. I smiled, ignoring the subtle jab. How's work been, Melissa? Exhausting. Dad's company is expanding and he's put me in charge of the new division. That's wonderful. Your parents must be so proud. Mom practically threw a gala to celebrate. Melissa examined her manicure. She said good leadership runs in our family. Ethan squeezed my shoulder as he reached for a bread roll. Mom's quite the leader, too. Remember when she organized that charity drive after the storm last year? Melissa's smile tightened. Right. That little neighborhood thing. After setting the table, we settled in to eat. Uncle Jack and my closest friend Diana had joined us, making it a proper dinner party. Zara, this lasagna is incredible, Diana said between bites. Thank you. I was worried about the sauce. My mother's lasagna won the county fair 3 years running, Melissa interrupted. She uses imported cheeses. Maybe I could get her recipe for you. Jack raised an eyebrow. Zara's been making this lasagna since before you were born, young lady. No offense meant. Melissa's tone suggested otherwise. The conversation shifted to Ethan's recent promotion. I couldn't help but notice how Melissa steered every topic back to herself or her family. When I mentioned my volunteer work at the hospital, she barely acknowledged it before launching into a story about her mother's charity foundation. Mom's thinking of running for city council next year, Melissa announced over dessert. She's always been a natural leader. That's ambitious, I replied, serving coffee. Politics can be challenging. Well, she's not one to shy away from challenges, unlike some people who've never really pursued a career. The table fell silent. I felt heat rising to my cheeks. Ethan cleared his throat. Mom raised me single-handedly while running her own bookkeeping business, Melissa. A small home business isn't exactly breaking glass ceilings, is it? She laughed lightly. I just mean there's different levels of ambition. Melissa, Diana warned. What? I'm just saying my mother built something significant while raising 3 children. She's extraordinary. I set down my coffee cup. We all make different choices. True. Melissa leaned forward. But let's be honest. You're not even half the woman my mother is. I pushed my chair back, the scraping sound cutting through the shocked silence. Everyone froze, waiting for my reaction. Diana's mouth hung open. Jack's eyes widened. Ethan looked mortified. Mom, she didn't mean... Ethan began. Oh, I think she meant exactly what she said, I replied, my voice surprisingly steady as I stood up. And now I think it's time for dessert to be over. She actually said that to your face? Diana paced across my living room 2 days later, her bracelets jangling with each emphatic gesture. The absolute nerve. In front of everyone, I confirmed, curling my legs under me on the couch. Ethan called yesterday to apologize for her. And what about Her Majesty herself? Any apologies? A text that said, and I quote, "Sorry if you were offended by my honesty." Diana snorted. That's not an apology, that's an insult with punctuation. I know. Ethan says she's just stressed about work. Honey, stress doesn't make you compare your mother-in-law unfavorably to your own mother at her dinner table? Diana sat beside me. Has she always been this way? She's always made little comments, but nothing this direct. I sighed. Last Christmas, she rearranged my ornaments when she thought I wasn't looking. Said her mother taught her the proper way to decorate a tree. And you never called her on it? I didn't want to create problems for Ethan. He loves her. What does Jack think about all this? He witnessed the whole thing. As if summoned, my doorbell rang. Uncle Jack entered, carrying a bakery box and a thunderous expression. I brought cannoli and information, he announced, setting the box down. Information? I asked. About our delightful Melissa, he said, lowering his voice conspiratorially. I ran into Patricia, Melissa's mother, at the grocery store yesterday. And? Diana leaned forward eagerly. And she had absolutely no idea about anything Melissa said at dinner. Jack helped himself to a cannoli. In fact, when I mentioned what Melissa said about her possibly running for city council, Patricia laughed so hard she nearly knocked over a display of soup cans. What? I sat up straight. Apparently, Patricia has severe stage fright and would rather die than run for office. Most of what Melissa said about her mother was completely fabricated. My phone buzzed with a call from Ethan. I excused myself to answer it. Mom, I'm so sorry about dinner, he started. It's okay, honey. How are you doing? Not great. Melissa's been difficult. She told her coworkers you insulted her mother at dinner. I did what? She's spinning this whole narrative where you were jealous of her relationship with her mother and lashed out. His voice dropped. Mom, people at my office are hearing about this. Her cousin works in my department. Ethan, you know that's not what happened? Of course I know, but Melissa is very convincing when she tells stories. After we hung up, I relayed the conversation to Diana and Jack. She's defaming you, Diana exclaimed. This isn't just rudeness anymore. What am I supposed to do? Force a confrontation? Jack leaned forward. Actually, I have an idea. Patricia invited me to their Labor Day barbecue next weekend. How do you know Patricia? I asked, confused. Our community theater group? I've known her for years, long before Melissa married Ethan. Jack smiled slyly. She specifically asked me to bring you. Apparently, she's curious about the mother-in-law her daughter complains about constantly. Diana clapped her hands. It's perfect. You can meet the real Patricia and expose Melissa's lies. I don't know. I hesitated. That seems confrontational. Zara, Diana took my hands. This girl insulted you at your table, is spreading lies about you, and is manipulating your son. It's time to stop being so nice. Jack nodded solemnly. Sometimes the only way to deal with a bully is to stand your ground. I took a deep breath. Okay, let's go meet the famous Patricia. The backyard barbecue at Patricia and Howard's suburban home was in full swing when we arrived. Jack led me through clusters of guests toward a pleasant-looking woman arranging a fruit platter. Patricia, found you at last, Jack called cheerfully. She turned with a warm smile. Jack, wonderful. And this must be Zara. I've heard so much about you. Likewise, I replied carefully. Patricia laughed. All terrible things, I'm sure. My daughter has quite the imagination. Before I could respond, Melissa appeared, her face freezing when she saw me. What are you doing here? She hissed. I invited her, Patricia said. Jack mentioned what happened at dinner, and I wanted to meet this horrible mother-in-law you're always complaining about. Melissa's eyes darted between us. Mom, you don't understand. Actually, I think I do. Patricia's voice cooled. Zara, would you mind if we spoke privately? You, me, and my creative daughter? We moved to Patricia's sunroom, away from the party. Melissa trailing reluctantly behind. Melissa, Patricia began once the door closed. Why did you tell Zara I'm running for city council? I never said that, Melissa protested. Yes, you did, I countered. At dinner, in front of everyone. You must have misunderstood. Did Zara also misunderstand when you said she wasn't half the woman I am? Patricia asked pointedly. Melissa flushed. I was defending you. She was trying to compete with you. By serving lasagna? I asked incredulously. Melissa, Patricia's voice sharpened. I've noticed a pattern. Every time you visit, you have another story about how Zara supposedly insulted me or tried to one-up me. Because she does. That's not true, I said firmly. I've always respected you, even though we'd never met until today. And now I learn you've been telling coworkers that Zara insulted me at dinner? Patricia continued. Your father and I raised you better than this. Melissa's eyes welled with tears. You're taking her side? Your own daughter? I'm not taking sides. I'm confronting dishonesty, Patricia replied. You've been using me as a weapon to hurt your mother-in-law, and I want to know why. Because everyone thinks she's so perfect, Melissa burst out. Saint Zara, who raised Ethan alone, who volunteers and makes everything from scratch. Ethan compares me to her constantly. No, he doesn't, I said softly. Yes, he does. Mom always made time for my games. Mom never complained about her job. I can never measure up. So your solution was to tear her down? Patricia asked. I just wanted... Melissa stopped, then tried again with a contrite expression. I'm sorry if my comments hurt you, Zara. I was just stressed and feeling insecure. Don't, I held up my hand. Don't apologize if I was hurt. You deliberately hurt me, spread lies about me, and damaged my relationship with my son. I said I'm sorry. What more do you want? I want you to tell Ethan and everyone else the truth, that you lied. I can't do that. Melissa looked panicked. Ethan would never forgive me. Then I guess we're at an impasse, I said, turning to leave. Melissa grabbed my arm. You can't tell him. I'll deny everything. Take your hand off me, I said quietly. You've never liked me. You've been trying to come between us from day one. Melissa, Patricia exclaimed. That's enough. No! Melissa's voice rose hysterically. If you tell Ethan, I'll make sure he never speaks to you again. I swear I will. The door opened and Ethan stood there, ashen-faced. Tell me what exactly? He asked. Ethan? Melissa's hand dropped from my arm. How long have you been standing there? Long enough, he replied, stepping into the room. What lies, Melissa? What have you been saying about my mother? The room fell silent. Patricia moved to stand beside me, a gesture of solidarity that spoke volumes. It was just a misunderstanding, Melissa attempted. I heard you threaten her, Ethan said, his voice uncharacteristically hard. You grabbed her arm. She was upset, I found myself saying, though I wasn't sure why I was offering her an excuse. I want to know what's been going on, Ethan insisted. All of it. Over the next 20 minutes, the truth unraveled. Patricia filled in details of other fabrications Melissa had created. Jack joined us, recounting the dinner incident exactly as it happened. With each revelation, Ethan's expression grew more troubled. I never said those things about you, he finally told Melissa. I've never compared you to my mother. You didn't have to. Everyone else did it for you. Tears streamed down her face. Your friends, your co-workers, everyone loves Zara. What about me? This isn't about being loved, I said quietly. It's about honesty and respect. Exactly, Patricia agreed. Melissa, what you've done isn't just hurtful, it's harassment. Harassment? Melissa laughed bitterly. It was just words. Defamation, then, Patricia countered. You've spread falsehoods that have damaged Zara's reputation and relationships. You're my mother. You're supposed to be on my side. I am on your side, Patricia replied. That's why I'm telling you this behavior has to stop. 2 weeks later, Diana and I sat at my kitchen table reviewing paperwork with our lawyer, Margaret. The cease and desist letter has been delivered, Margaret confirmed. If Melissa continues spreading falsehoods about you, we move forward with the defamation suit. Do you think it'll come to that? I asked. After her scene at the Homeowners Association meeting? Diana raised an eyebrow. When she accused you of trying to destroy her marriage, I'd say the chances are high. Ethan called this morning, I said, stirring my tea. They're starting counseling. That's a positive step, Margaret noted. Has he spoken to you about reconciliation? He asked if I'd consider family therapy with them eventually. I shook my head. I told him I needed time and boundaries first. And Melissa? Diana asked. No direct contact since the restraining order. After Melissa's confrontation at the HOA meeting had escalated to threats, a temporary restraining order had been the necessary next step. The doorbell rang. Jack entered, followed by Patricia. Committee meeting still on? Patricia asked cheerfully. Absolutely, I replied, clearing away the legal papers. Diana's brought the volunteer schedules for the Children's Hospital fundraiser. After the barbecue confrontation, Patricia and I had discovered we had more in common than just a problematic family connection. We'd started a community volunteer initiative together, channeling our energies into something positive. Have you heard from Ethan? Jack asked as we settled around the dining room table. He's doing as well as can be expected, I said. It's difficult. He asked me if I thought you'd ever forgive Melissa, Patricia mentioned carefully. What did you tell him? Diana asked. I told him forgiveness and reconciliation aren't the same thing. Patricia met my eyes. One is about making peace with the past. The other is about building a future together. And I'm not ready to build anything with Melissa, I said firmly. Maybe someday I'll forgive her for my own peace, but I don't see us having a relationship again. You know what my grandmother used to say? Jack chimed in. Trust is like paper. Once it's crumpled, it can never be perfectly smooth again. Exactly, I nodded, opening my planner. Now, about this fundraiser. I was thinking we could approach local businesses for matching donations. As we planned and laughed together, I realized something important. The revenge wasn't in the legal actions or the restraining order. It wasn't even in Melissa's public embarrassment when her lies were exposed. The real revenge was in reclaiming my dignity, setting firm boundaries, and building a life surrounded by people who respected me. The woman who pushed her chair back at that fateful dinner wasn't the same woman sitting here now. I was stronger, clearer about what I deserved. Sometimes the best revenge isn't what you do to others, but what you refuse to let them do to you. Don't you agree? Like and subscribe if you'd like to hear more stories like mine. Have you ever had to stand up to someone who was tearing you down? Share your experience in the comments below.